Hi everyone, I welcome you all. I am Dr. Dipali Rathod, consultant dermatologist currently practicing in Mumbai. I am one of the directors for our TeleMed Lab app. TeleMed Lab app is one-stop solution for all your health problems. To know more about it, please visit www.telemedlab, that is TELEMEDLAB.in. This session is presented to you by TeleMed Lab. Every woman is unique and beautiful in her own way. And to celebrate the feminine energy of loving, caring, nurturing, we have here with us three such gorgeous, beautiful, super talented, and inspiring ladies who have carved their paths to success with sheer grit, determination, and hard work. Today, we have with us Dr. Manjula Anagani from Hyderabad. She is the head of department, chief gynecologist, obstetrician, infertility specialist, and laparoscopic surgeon at Medicover Women and Child Hospital, Hyderabad. She's been a pioneer in the art of laparoscopy, and for this remarkable contribution, in 2015, she was awarded the Padma Shri, the fourth highest Indian civilian award by the Government of India. She is also a Guinness World Record holder for removing largest number, that is 84 uterine fibroids, in a single operation with her team. In 2016, she has also received an Indian Affairs Indian of the Year award at India Leadership Conclave in Mumbai. So far, she has performed over 15,000 surgeries. She has revolutionized women healthcare in India and also has done a lot of work for the empowerment of women. She is also a co-founder of an NGO named Pratyusha, which works towards upgrading the health of children and women. She is a friend, proud mother to a beautiful daughter, an influencer, YouTuber, and a TEDx speaker. Manjula ma'am, on behalf of our TeleMed Lab team, we welcome you.
Hi, Ratipali. How are you? It's a pleasure and privilege.
Also with us, we have another inspiring lady, Ananya Banerjee from Mumbai. She is a celebrity chef, artist, cookbook author, food stylist, curator, and consultant. She is the author of the famous cooking recipe book, Planet Gastronomy, 100 Most Popular Global Recipes, which is the combined result of a love for traveling and a passion for food. She has also authored the book Bangla Gastronomy. She is a proud mother to a beautiful daughter, a painter, traveler at heart, YouTuber, blogger, and ex-BBC Good Food India editor. Chef Ebika Adda, Chef Ananya's Happiness Kitchen. She is indeed a multifaceted personality, and we are happy to have her with us today. Ma'am, on behalf of the TeleMed Lab team, we welcome you.
Thank you, Dr. Dipali. Thank you. It's really an honor and privilege to be here on this platform. Thank you, TeleMed's Lab. The concept you just explained, that sounds fabulous. We really need something like that like a platform where patients and doctors can be easily contacted and met. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, ma'am. It is indeed a pleasure. So before we start, I would like to thank you all for devoting your valuable time for this session despite busy schedules. Considering the International Women's Day, we thought of directing questions to these inspiring ladies to understand the struggle they had to undergo to be at the top in their respective profession. So let's get started. So our first question is directed to both of them. So Manjula ma'am, how did you enter this profession? I mean, was it planned or it happened serendipitously?
No, it was, in my case, I would say I was like very clear right from my fourth class. I told everybody I would be a doctor. So that's because I think you will be, most of the time, even this generation is very, very clear about what they don't want to do. In those days, we were told what to do, but then I was very clear because it used to intrigue me, the inquisitiveness of knowing how my hand is moving when my brain is thinking, how I am talking what I want to talk. So these things used to intrigue me. And if any teacher tells you are doing well, we automatically get going towards that. So my science teacher used to tell me, oh, you're so good in your drawing, so get another half mark there, another half mark there. So it used to be so clear. My social studies was bad and my science was the best. So automatically it came into it. But once into medicine, that is the first step which we do. But when we do, we have, the Pali anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry in the first name. Anatomy, if somebody likes, definitely is a surgical field you're going to enter. If you like physiology, it is a medical field. Automatically, your brain has compartments which will tell us what to do. So by the time I was in house agency, I was very sure I'll be a surgeon. Then comes our actual thing about practicality, being a surgeon with 0 patients, or being in a field where surgery is there, where we can improvise the surgeries and see that 50% of population, more than 50% of population, which is women, come to us. That's when I decided I will do obstetrics and gynecology and go towards gynecology rather than only obstetrics. In obstetrics, I would stick to high risk obstetrics, which needs actual surgical skills. So that's how I entered into it. Now, saying that, there's one thing unique I should tell you. Till now, I think many people do not know it, is that when I joined, when I used to get the seat, I got into MD path first, in spite of me doing very well in my entrance exam. So I was refusing to accept that I would be in this pathology because I'm not born to be seeing under the microscope. It's a good subject, great subject, but I'm not born to that. So I was like, I said, like, I cannot write another entrance. Who is going to study all that again? I did well. So I went to the court. That's a struggle again. I was the first one to put a court case saying that this cannot be my rank. Everybody followed. The court looked into the answer sheet. Then they said the whole thing is wrong. Answer sheet was scrapped. Then they gave her ranks again. That's how I entered into the gynecology. So if you decide to do what you want, I'm sure everything will fall into place and you will do what you want. Finally, when I did my MD final year, then I knew. I went for a 1 month camp, not even 1 month, I think 1 week or something, to a camp for a laparoscopic workshop, where in a school, in a small shop, in a shed in a school, in a village, we did laparoscopic tubectomies using cycle pumps to instill carbon dioxide inside the abdomen. Then I said, there's a lot more to do. Ketamine, small thing, like in human, we used to do the tubectomies. That's when I said, no, there's so many things we have to do. So that has been my journey. Then I came out and I said, we started improvising all the techniques, getting into minimally invasive surgery, telling people, fighting against people that this is the best for you and your future, fighting against our peers, saying this is the way to go forward, telling our teachers that you have to relearn, unlearn what you did and relearn laparoscopy and all. Then going on and teaching the new techniques, which are good for women. So all 3 things, but that's how I ended up. But I think journey has been with a passion. I'm sure your profession and passion are same. Your patients are with us and we have patience. We can do everything with our persistence.
Of course, ma'am, your early encouragement in life and your rebellious attitude, as you say, has definitely pushed you to be where you are, and we really love you for what you are. So my next question, the same question to our next inspiring lady, Ananya ma'am, is, ma'am, what event motivated or inspired you to take up this profession that you're in? Was it a voluntary decision for you of entering and becoming a chef?
No, not at all. In fact, I'll repeat what Dr. Manjula just said. My journey has been very, very different. I come from a family of lawyers and judges. So very obviously, I was made to study law. So I did law, I completed law. And I have walked those corridors of High Court wearing that black gown, but I knew for sure that is not for me because that was not my calling. And all my life I wanted to be a painter, but coming from that highly disciplined background, where coming from a family of lawyers and judges, I was not allowed to go to an art school at that point of time. But eventually in life, I feel you do what you want to do, what your heart desires. And one fine day, I just quit everything and I started painting. And then after 1 year's time, I had my first show, which is of paintings exhibition, and it was an all sold out show. And there was not that point of time, there was no looking back. I had shows after shows after shows all across the globe, including Paris, where I think all artists dream to go there and show their work. So yeah. And also now there was another turning point where the chef in me because I wanted to portray my skills, or I feel cooking is also a form of art.
Of
It's
course.
not, yeah, where you're, instead of your colors, paints and canvas, you're, painting a different picture, and which you eventually can eat. So there was an aspiring chef in me which I wanted to pursue. That happened after I wrote 2 of my books. And when I did the books, yeah, there was again a turning in my life where I was asked to do 150 videos for Tata Sky Television, and then there's another television company. They approached me. So I'm, I now don't have any time to paint, which I don't like it very much. But I'm a full-fledged. I've worn the chef's cap, and I'm enjoying my journey.
No, but I must say,
Yeah.
ma'am, your paintings are really good. I have seen most of your work. You should continue that. I'm really glad that you chose the artist side of yourself and you have been into this creative field. I think you should actually, do much more in this field rather than, going back and seeing to what you've left behind. So moving forward, I would want to ask Manjula ma'am, like we know that most of the surgeons that we have in our country are men. And as a female surgeon, was it difficult, for you to survive or sustain yourself?
Okay. Again, saying that we are multitaskers, we are multifaceted, we want to be super mom, super wife, super
Of course.
everything in whatever we do, and we are the best because when we put something, we do meticulously with focus thing. Men cannot focus on many things, but we can focus simultaneously on many things. But saying that, it is not at all easy for anybody in a man's world to move forward, and every world till now, except the home frontier, was always thought to be man's world. It's always that, whether it is chef, whether it is doctor, always man's world. So how is it very difficult? Yes, first patients will come and ask, madam, आप ही operate करेंगे? आप surgeon को बुलाएंगे क्या? Is there going to be somebody else who is going to operate inside? That is a patient's point initially when we talk. The second thing is from the surgeon's point, they get it like, the ports are like, this has to be done like this. This has to be done like this. So the ergonomics are different. Our shoulders, our pressures, our thing for minimally invasive surgery are different. Our ports are different. So it's for us to break the barriers that no, there are nothing new there. We have to, it has to be safety of the patient and comfort of the surgeon. So we have to redesign our own Ipsilate reports, which have become norm now. So because if we start operating now, I want to operate till I die. I should not be going with all my back injuries, with my shoulder injuries, all those things because of our work. So these things are there. And again, first part is many right now today, when so many of my PGs and my postdoctoral fellows are men. And when I start doing this advanced laparoscopy training courses, many surgeons come and learn, oncosurgeons come and learn, urologists come and learn from me. But those days when we used to do, when we do, outside people also peers also do not believe. They think, no, somebody else must be operating. She's just talking. Till we do live operative workshops and show the techniques,
Yes.
it's going to be difficult. So we have to prove, which we know we believe in ourselves, we prove ourselves. We have to prove the patients, we have to prove our colleagues, and we also have to prove the men out there telling that we are better than them. But I was lucky in some way that there are men surgeons who were there who used to watch and tell all the relatives. Most of my patients are doctors. When anesthetist sees and goes out and tells, and most of the doctors become your patients, that automatically makes it a little easier. But when everybody asks, it seems somebody surgeons come and we just have to smile and move on. We cannot change everybody. We cannot tell everybody. But as we do, I'm sure, even if it is like this in a Bhagwan case mein der hai, lekin andher nahi, it will come out. But the hurdles will be there. We have to do 2 to 3 times the same thing what a man does to reach what they reach. They talk more, but we do more. So that's the huge difference.
Absolutely. So, ma'am, you definitely set an example of yourself for all the other ladies out there by being a female surgeon in your field, and I'm really proud of you for that. So, coming to Ananya, ma'am, how do you try to balance between your work and your personal life responsibilities?
Yeah, the balances comes very easily. It's really, I think all women, as she also just said, we are multitaskers and we can focus on many things at a time. And so that's not difficult. I can manage my home as well as I can manage my work. It is not so difficult. I think all women have this capability and power to do it.
We are all
Lots of
multitaskers.
them. Yeah, we are all multitaskers actually.
Dipali, can I
Absolutely.
ask you something? Why
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
you all, why don't you all ask men the same question? How
Ma'am,
are they managing home and outside together? Men
no,
never
in
ask
fact,
that question. Always women and ask, how are you balancing? Because they're expected to be balancing. Why should they expect?
absolutely. Absolutely. No, in fact, ma'am, when I came up with the thought of this session, I also thought now on International Men's
Yeah.
Day, we also need to do a session like this. So
How are they balancing?
But
Nobody asked.
is there an International Men's Day at all?
yes, ma'am, in
Yeah.
November.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I'm sure I have to start seeing the participants now, and I'm definitely going to take some tips from you all to kind of make some set of questions so we can have a session right for International Men's Day later this year.
Good idea.
So moving ahead,
Good idea.
to both of them, to both of you, any sacrifices, compromises that you've had to make to be where you are today? Like you didn't want to do the sacrifice, but still, without any reason, you had to do that. Was there any event in your life like this, Ananya ma'am?
Yes, of course. The biggest sacrifice was at a very young age when I wanted to become an artist, I was not allowed to. So my field of studies would have been so different. I would have done different things which I could not do at my right age. And I feel that was a biggest sacrifice. I mean, I have wasted, in fact, I wasted one university seat of becoming a lawyer, which I would have made a very mediocre lawyer if I had continued being a lawyer. But I'm happy that I chose to do what I'm doing today. Lot of times, even my parents, after I decided to do what I'm doing, they've said that enough is enough. You have done what you had to do, but go back to your studies and that field again, which I did not. But don't you think that is the sacrifice, that what you wanted to do,
Absolutely.
you could not? But still, I managed to follow my heart and I am where I am today.
Definitely taking up your passion seriously and following your heart has definitely made you who you are. And we are really happy to know you the way you are right now. So again, the next question to Manjula ma'am, what was do you have any toughest challenge that you've gone through in your career or life anytime,
My health has been my toughest challenge.
Yes, I have seen the video of you talking about that. So could you just, tell our viewers about that?
But I never allowed it to become my hindrance. I always tell people, so that actually inspired me into doing so many things. I tell people that you should not allow your ill health to be a hindrance to whatever you dream to be or anything. Unfortunately, fortunately, in 91, I did my house agency. 92, I was doing my house agency. I had my first attack of hepatitis that time. 93, I had my heart failure. Then, I don't want to go into details. So there's been a huge up and down, but I'm 52 now, I'm still alive. 3 times I had literally been declaring me dead. So, but I think by positivity in us that we want to be successful. I don't allow myself to be in the bed for long, hospital for long. After 2005, I never allowed myself to be admitted into hospitals. Then in fact, in January, I was admitted for overnight and intubated, but then again, next day I'm back. So in fact, after anything, next day I go and operate also. So I think it's all here. It's all the biochemicals ka locha hai idhar.
So I must say, I must say you've mastered your mind over your body, ma'am.
Yes. So it's always the mind over body, mind over the heart. But saying that mind over heart sometimes hurts us because it hurts the people around us. But we have to be putting our foot down and we have to say this is it. Because sometimes when we don't know the difference and we try to be good to everybody, we cannot be good to everybody. And they will end up being hurt more than what we hurt them. So I feel my major thing was my health, but I'm fine with it. I know how to deal with it because whole world, all my friends, including Mayo Hospital there, Cleveland Clinic there, and India, Hyderabad, all doctors are with me. Anything happens, they are with me. I trust our medical fraternity.
Absolutely, ma'am. And you are definitely, a very strong role model, I say, because when I saw your TED talk about how you've been resuscitated thrice from near being dead, and that's really, I just had got goosebumps then, and I thought I'll just ask this question because sometimes it's up to you whether you want to make the audience know about it or no. So
January 6th, 7th night, I again had a major havoc and it was completely obstructed behind the cricoid with the thing, and I had to be intubated and taken out. But then I'm back. I was operating within 3 days again. So I don't think we should allow anything and brood and sit and wait for people to come and say, how are you? How are you? Kya hota? Kuch nahi hota. It is destiny. That's it.
Salute to your determination and your perseverance to do and do much better than what you've done yesterday, ma'am. So a question directed to both of you, since we have recently been through a lot, so much of challenging times we have faced with respect to the pandemic. So has the pandemic affected your personal or professional life, Ananya ma'am?
Yeah, so just before the pandemic, I do consultancy for many restaurants. I do their menus and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I was doing that, and then I had taken up a cloud kitchen where I was supposed to start my deliveries, food deliveries, which completely, that whole plan was wiped out because of the pandemic. I did not go for it. But that didn't stop me. I was thinking that I started that same thing in a very small scale from home, from my home kitchen. So this entire pandemic times, I have my weekend deliveries and people are ordering, and I'm kind of overwhelmed at the enthusiasm. I think people can't visit restaurants, they can't eat outside food. So when they see a chef who's cooking at home and with following all COVID norms and following all necessary precautions, contactless deliveries and stuff like that. So this is a new side of business that has picked up, which I never thought it would. So that has happened during the pandemic.
Definitely.
So I've become more and more busy, I must say. Yeah.
That's in a good way, ma'am.
Yes. Yes.
In fact, I think the COVID pandemic has definitely taught us a lot and has given us a lot of memories and lessons, to see and kind of learn from it for the rest of our lives. So, Manjula ma'am, has and how the pandemic affected you?
So your personal front, I think, yeah, Dipali, personal front, I think it's brought out all our, we had time to start, I had time to start painting again, and I had time to start playing badminton again. But again, back trouble, so I stopped it. So some things like that, but then we did have time to do something different from what before we used to work 24/7, came down to maybe 8 to 10 hours per day, but I worked every day, but decreased of work. But in professional work, like I said, we did continue surgeries because I was in the tertiary care from everywhere people used to come. First March, a little less work. From April, we had almost all the work because they have to come to us. Other small hospitals who have closed, they had to shift back to us. Then it gave us the innovativeness to start how to do laparoscopy without the fumes affecting us. So we started having newer techniques again, evolving there and all that. So it has honed our skills, but I think everybody agrees it has given us more time with the family, sometimes needed, sometimes not needed. Sometimes distance is very important so that you can avoid tutu meme. Okay? Yeah, but what happens? You cannot get everything in a platter. So we have to take what it comes. But luckily for us, our profession continued in spite of many people who did not have the profession at all in those days.
Definitely, we have to take everything in our stride and move on. So just like that, moving ahead, I would like to ask Ananya ma'am. Ma'am, tell us that one person whom you give the credit to of being where you are today.
Sorry, I did not get you. Sorry.
Tell us one person whom you give the credit of being where you are today. A person in your life to whom you give the credit of being where you are today.
Yes, that I give it to my husband. I do. Yeah. So he encouraged. He could have also said that nothing doing. You follow what you started in your life and your studies come first, but he did not do that. Whatever I wanted to do, there was full support but from the background,
Definitely,
not
a
in the
family.
fore. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Definitely, a family is like a pillar of
My
strength.
family, yes, definitely they are, and so is my daughter. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I know about her, and she's really beautiful. So, moving ahead, Manjula man, I want to know from you the one person without whose contribution you wouldn't have made this far.
I think two people, my parent, my mom and my dad. Because
Absolutely.
without, I think when we are becoming medicine, it is always the family support in the first time, which is very important. My dad was like, you need to study that, study this, do that. Why are you getting 58th rank in MSET? You should have gotten the first 10. I mean, it's like nothing is that makes you happy. So you have to
Right.
work more hard to make them happier. My
Yes.
mom is constant support. You want to eat this? She used to come and feed during exams. We don't have time to eat. 24 by 7, 18 by 7, night 2 o'clock, coming and giving teas, everything. So I think it's been like my parents who've been instrumental. But again, my PG I did after my marriage. So definitely the in-laws, husband, everybody support will take. But I think at that particular age, we make decisions. But at an age when we are growing up, it is parents who tell us what to do, how to do, even if you have to. So I
Mm.
think the focus and everything, definitely my parents. When my daughter, I molded my life around my daughter in the sense that when she was in first class, I stopped my evening practice. I
Mhm.
stopped around 5, after 6, I was home. So
Right.
again, by the time she came to 10th class, I stopped my corporate practice. Then I put her in weekly boarder. Then I sent her for undergrad to US. So all these things. So she also adapted accordingly so that I can do my things properly. So I think adaptation of other people around us. And I think a lot depends on us, how we can convince them to adapt around us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How to make others move according to your convenience, basically.
And
Okay.
softly and diplomatically.
Absolutely. Yes, diplomat is the right word here, ma'am. Okay. So moving ahead, Ananda ma'am, since you travel across the globe and you make your blogs, which is your favorite place among all that have you visited so far?
Very difficult to pinpoint just one place because I'm an avid traveler and I love traveling, love to eat food from everywhere. And my first book was all about that. Planet Gastronomy has recipes from 60 different countries
Yes,
and 100 recipes. And those are the popular recipes which are people's favorite in that particular country. It's not yours or mine favorite. It
absolutely.
is, yeah. So difficult to say which one in particular, but somehow Paris or France is my all-time favorite. I like many other artists or foodies, I would say. Yeah,
Absolutely. Europe is definitely a very beautiful place. And
yeah.
Paris, probably we had a conference last year before the pandemic, but because of time restrictions, we couldn't visit, but maybe some other time. And ma'am, what
Mm.
is your favorite cuisine so far? I mean, you've been doing so many other cuisines, national, international. So, what is your favorite cuisine?
Again, a very difficult question because me being a Bengali food is it comes naturally to me. So what
Mhm.
I have learned from my grandmother and mother and my family, I come from a family which they're extremely particular about food
Mhm.
and good food for that
Mhm.
matter. My mother is an excellent cook. I think I still feel that I can't cook like her the way she cooks. So yeah. But having said that, having traveled all around the world, there are some cuisine which is very close to my heart, and which there is no restaurant in our country like Ethiopian food. I
Okay.
just fell in love with that kind of food, and I'm the only one in India who's doing Ethiopian food for the time being.
Oh, that's
There's an
right.
Ethiopian embassy in New Delhi. They sometimes do a food festival kind of a thing, but there's no restaurant. So
Okay.
I'm the only chef who does that. That food is very close to my heart. And then my book also talks about cuisines from countries where people have not written much books all about. When you could talk about global food, you normally talk about French and Italian, or Thai or Chinese or all that. But my book has recipes from Ethiopia, Taiwan, Chile, Peru, and stuff like that. So it's truly global. So these cuisines are also my favorite. Like Peruvian food, I just love it. There's no restaurant in the country.
That's great. And I'm sure in the coming future, we would see more of, cuisines that you like, of like the Ethiopian cuisine that we're talking about. I'm sure with your posts, with your books, we would definitely know much more about that. And ma'am, any particular favorite dish that you like,
And nowadays, what has happened is consulting for different restaurants and always eating food or trying food. I feel the simplest the food is cooked at home. I somehow with age, that's the best thing am enjoying. So if it's a simple fish curry, Bengali style, or a khichdi, a homemade khichdi, or just ghee and rice, I'm happy with that.
Yes. Yeah. I think ghee, rice, dal chawal are all.
Yeah, dal chawal types. Yeah.
Okay.
The simpler, the better.
Yes, absolutely. So, Manjula ma'am, you are into a lot of innovations when it comes to your work. So, what makes you think out of the box, or go ahead with these innovations?
Dipali, it is as simple as demand and supply. It depends on what patient wants, and you want to give it to them. Patient comes to you with a problem. Instead of trying to fit the solution you have into the problem, think of a solution which is for the problem. You can always think out of the box and come up with a good solution. As long as we are taught traditionally that these are all the solutions for this problem, we are sticking to that. And we are going to tell, this is a solution, take it, instead of understanding, is that the right solution? So we are trying to, for example, you have a round color problem and you have a square solution with you. We are going to give a square solution to the round problem to her, telling it is the only solution. Instead of thinking, but can we create a round solution so which fills that cake? So when people come to us and say they're having example, we need to create a new vagina for RKH syndrome, then it used to be traditionally be a McIndoe's technique, where a painful procedure, where a plastic surgeon used to come and long mark on the thigh, a whole world, the family would know that she underwent a procedure, painful. So we should think of a procedure from a patient point of view, where she can dilate it regularly without any pain. Nobody, including the husband, should know that she underwent a procedure or the surgery. And the outcome should be in such a way that when she wants to go for surrogacy for child, it should be easy to go. And the sexual life should not be affected. That when you think about how can we achieve all this, then you can always get the answer. Similarly, when we started doing stem cell, okay, no endometrium, agenesis, how can you do? Hormones are not working, nothing is working. So if something else can regenerate somewhere else, why can't it regenerate here? And when the bone marrow stem cells are the same line of endometrium, which is known from so many years, why can't we put that into it when we are telling totipotent cell? So it is just that, that extra effort to give the solution to the patient. And I'm sure we can all do it. So when it comes to the techniques for surgeon, it is an extra effort to understand that, okay, I am slim, I am thin, my shoulders are weak. So how can I come up with the solutions that are easier on my body? So it is always thinking of doing it. And I think the inspiration comes from our teachers who give us that extra thing, telling them you can do it and you should think out of the box. So it starts from the childhood. Luckily for me, even my PG days, my teachers, my professors used to be, if Manju cannot do, we cannot do. That sort of encouragement I had. So I think it a lot depends on your luck, that I was very lucky. I had teachers who allowed me to think. Then I had patients who allowed me to give them a solution which is not in literature and accept it and go ahead and get the surgery done and be happy. Then that became literature. So that's how I think I was lucky. I was destined. That's it.
Yes, I must say, really thought-provoking views you have, and that has led, because you had that in your mind and you want to kind of give it to the world, to your patients. So that's how, like you said, you need something to give out, but before that, you need a requirement, in order to give that. Right. So definitely. So I thank you for that. So now moving ahead, my next question to Ananya ma'am. Ma'am, what do you feel that needs to be changed or substituted in the food industry these days?
This pandemic has really affected the food industry in a big way because people are still scared to eat out, go out, have food. And the most suffering people, I would say, are your local, bhaji walas, not bhaji walas, say vada pav and chaat walas off the street. My heart really goes out to them because that's their livelihood, but people are too scared to buy anything from there. Although having said that, when you are you're on the streets and you're passing by, you see everything has come back to normal without mask. People are having food, but they are affected in a big way. A lot of restaurants I know I have worked has closed down because this has really hit them so bad. A lot of people have lost jobs. So this pandemic has really created havoc in many people's lives. I really wish that we could do something to bring them back, and people should have that trust to go back and eat again and order from them so that they sustain their lives.
Definitely, ma'am.
Yeah,
Slowly and
yeah.
gradually, we'll have our good old
Slowly
days
and
back.
gradually, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and also, ma'am, there are many diets, food fads, suggestions that our elders keep giving us that, you need to eat right, you need to eat healthy, you need to eat this, you need to eat that.
Yeah.
What is your take on this, ma'am, and how important is it?
Yeah, I also follow the orthodox way. I think if whatever your grandmother and your mother has eaten, I think that's good for you. I still feel you are a dermatologist. I can tell you, I think the skin my mother has or my grandmother has, the hair kind of hair she has used to have. I mean, at my age, I don't. So it must be her diet because my grandmother, I knew she's never put anything but Nivea cream on her face. But we use so many things. So it's basically the diet and the food that has gone inside their body. I think that's the result of their beauty or the texture of their skin or the hair or whatever it is. So I feel whatever your forefathers used to have, I think that's good for you. That's time and tested. Don't you think so? And although having said that, I think earlier generations or much more, they used to have physical labor, which we don't. We are sitting in our chairs and office areas. So we need to exercise. I think that's the only other thing we need to do. But so far as diet is concerned, food is concerned, I think we should stick to our, roots. I'm a rice eater, so I think I can't just change into bajri and millets and all that overnight. I'm happy with my rice. I think that's how it is, So each
Absolutely.
one, whatever they have grown up with, I think that food is best for you.
Absolutely, but I must mention one thing here. Like most of my Bengali friends, and I've known Roshni for many years now, and I know you, and I see you. I love your skin, and most of the Bengalis have the most beautiful skin. So one thing that comes to my mind is basically a diet of eating fish, basically because of the omega fatty acids that it has. So because in our literature research, yeah, we've seen that omega fatty acids do help with the skin, and they give you, very soft, supple, and a glowing skin. So I think, yeah, most of the Bengalis that I know of, that they have a very beautiful skin. So I think it could be definitely because of the diet. So moving ahead, and so this question is to both of you. So Manjula ma'am, what is your mantra to keep going in life, and what fuels your passion?
First, I would say believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't expect others to believe you. Okay. The second thing is don't allow others to put a value for you. You should know your value, and you should be one who should be determining your value. They should not be undermining your value and tell that you are not good for that, you're not good for this or whatever. That is something which is important. And first, again, like Ananya said, or anything like that, if you don't dream, what are you going to pursue?
Absolutely.
You need to first dream. So dream and then pursue, and then definitely you will reach it if you believe in yourself. And I'm sure all girls out there know that. Only thing is, और एक्स्ट्रा पुश रहना चाहिए कि बात पीछे से तुम कर सकती हो, करो जाओ बस. But you have to believe in yourself.
Definitely. So set your goals, chase your goals, and believe yourself. So I think that is the mantra
Absolutely.
that Manjula ma'am follows. Ananya ma'am, what is your mantra to keep going in life?
So
and what
not,
gives you passion?
yeah, not very dissimilar from what Dr. Manjula just said. It's the same. Just follow your heart, and whatever gives you happiness, whatever gives you fulfillment to do something, go ahead and do it, which I have done in my life. But that's it. And dream, keep dreaming, and you're going to achieve it. Have that faith in yourself, and go ahead.
Definitely. That means you mean to say, dream with your eyes open and chase your dreams.
Yes.
Keep your ears open also.
Absolutely. Keep all your senses active and follow your dreams. All your 6 senses. Cool. So again, the question, both of you, just I want you to describe yourself in one word. So Manjula ma'am, one word that describes you the best.
Focused and persistent.
Absolutely, you are. So, and Ananya ma'am, one word that describes you.
One word, then it's dreamer.
Are you a Piscean by any chance?
Aquarian.
Okay, because Pisceans, I'm a Piscean. Pisceans are supposed to be dreamers, and we do daydream at times. But you know, there are good dreams also, like our dreams to perceive our goals, to chase our goals, and many other things. Okay. So one last question to both of you before we end this. What advice would you like to give the younger women today entering your profession? Manjula ma'am?
First thing I would always say is be happy. Means you do your post-graduation or anything which gives you happiness. Not because your father has done something or your mother has something, you have to become ophthalmologist because he's an ophthalmologist. So unless you decide which gives you happiness, if your profession and passion is not the same, you're never going to be happy in what you do. So please follow your heart and then do the subject where you have to do and then do it. That is what I would say this. And seeing that our profession is something which is a teamwork. Nowadays, in today's time where we want to be super mom and everything, it's not without teamwork. So make a team and then work towards it, because each patient should get 100%. And if you are sick, the patient is not going to get it. So make a team. Technique you learn, technology, take it forward, make a team, train yourself properly, and then teach the next generation, and always keep your temperament in a proper level, and trust and make the patient trust you and transform yourself.
Absolutely. So I must say all T's. So the ladies, all the T's that you need to follow.
I came up with 8 T's because it is March 8th, the international, and we need to choose to challenge ourselves.
Absolutely, ma'am. With that message, I'm sure it's a good message to all our young ladies out there. Same question to Ananya ma'am. Ma'am, what advice would you like to give the younger women today entering your profession?
So same thing, follow your heart, first of all, but keep your eyes and ears open and, be logical, be systematic, and go ahead in your life. I think you're going to succeed any which ways. Yeah, but definitely follow your heart so that eventually that gives you happiness. So this happiness is something we all chase for, we all look for finally, so, isn't it?
So definitely, all you beautiful ladies. So this is the message from our Ananya ma'am and Manjula ma'am for you for this International Women's Day. So I really want to thank you both. Thank you so much for devoting your valuable time here. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you, Deepali.
Pleasure to be a part.
Thank you, Manjula ma'am.
Pleasure meeting you, Dr. Manjula.
It's a pleasure, Ananya. We'll be in touch.
Up next with us, we have Sandhya Jana, one of the prominent Tollywood actresses for more than a decade now, and she has worked in numerous documentaries, short films, hit South Indian movies, and TV shows. To name a few movies that she has given a hit in is, which include Bharatani Nenu, Mismatched, Geeta Govindam, Arjun Reddy, Ishq, Amudiki Mugdu, 118, Sri Ramarajam, etc. And the list goes on. Earlier, she was also a science journalist and a teacher and a soft skills trainer too. She is one of the busiest actresses that we know of. She loves painting, cooking, gardening. She does yoga to keep herself fit. She's a proud mother to two sons. She's a multitasker, I must say, in every possible way, and hence we are happy and excited to have her today with us here. Thank you, Sandhya ma'am, for accepting our request and joining us today. Ma'am, on behalf of our entire TeleMed Lab team, we welcome you.
Thank you so much, Deepali. I'm glad that I got selected for this lovely show. And I'm wishing all the women out there a very happy International Women's Day.
So, ma'am, moving ahead for today, now I would be giving you or directing few questions again towards you. So,
Yeah.
the first question for you is, how difficult was it for you to get in the Tollywood industry?
Well, it wasn't, I never tried for movies because I was a journalist and I was into a very serious kind of profession, and which requires, of course, a lot of, hard work and a lot of involvement and stuff like that. So when this happened because of my documentary films which I did on women's science. So there was one film which I wanted to do on girl child. And that's when I met Shekhar Kamla. And I mean, it was a very breezy kind of a meet. And I never went with the idea of getting into movies. But then after I met him, after 6 months, he gave me this proposal that why don't I act as in Happy Days. That was my first movie as Tamanna's mom. Which was quite, I was quite taken aback by that because I never thought that I can also think of acting in movies because I was on the theater, on the stage, doing theater plays and stuff like that. A lot of drama, what do you say, group dances in school, college, all that extracurricular activities, you can say. But then when this happened, I didn't know what to do. So it was not as you put the question whether it was difficult. No, it was not at all. It was just a cakewalk for me.
Okay, so I must say it was not planned and it just followed as a serendipity.
Yeah. Pardon?
It just followed serendipitously, like one after the other.
Yes, very, very true.
Okay, so moving ahead, ma'am, I just would want to know any event that inspired or motivated you to take up your current profession?
Oh, well, the thing is, no, nothing like that. I was watching, I mean, I normally watch movies on and off. But then I think I just wanted perhaps at that point of time, 10 years of writing and all that. Maybe I was looking forward to a slightly different kind of a profession where I can showcase my other skills. Okay. So because acting was kind of inherent in me. And I always felt that maybe I could have done something with that. Okay, so when this opportunity came knocking, and I said, okay, TK, why don't I give it a try? Of course, with a lot of support from my husband and my family, you can say. And they literally pushed me because I was quite hesitant about it. So they literally pushed me into it. And then, well, I just went and the first time I'm seeing a movie set and I mean, the way they were doing the direction and all that, I never had any feel of it earlier. So it kind of happened out of the blue, you can say.
But I must say you're doing a really great job. It's good that you have taken a turn and been in this profession.
Absolutely, it took a sudden U-turn, you can say.
Yes, we're really happy to know this side of Sandhya ma'am. So it's better that it's good, in fact, that you have taken this U-turn. And so we have you and we know you as a good actress that you definitely are one of them. Yeah. So ma'am, right. How do you juggle between your profession and the various roles that you play?
How do I balance?
Yes. How do you balance with your profession? And like I said, you are a painter. You are, you cook well. You do yoga. You do
Oh, yeah.
painting, and so
Yes.
many things. So how do you kind of juggle between the profession and your personal life?
Yes, see, the main thing is I try to utilize whatever time I get, because time is of essence now at my age, right? Because I have done this, that, and I've seen so many. I mean, during my journey from school, college, and everything. So all that I have seen that, but I have some things to do still. Still, there'll be some inner desires,
Yes.
unfulfilled things, which maybe because of my busy life as a mom, as a wife, and even as a professional, because I was into teaching and so many other things. So I never got the time to experiment, especially with my art and all that. That got kind of, it was in the back burner, some of its things. So I said, okay, TK, see, I don't get to do shoots every day. Mine is not a office job, like a 9 to 5 job, right?
Right.
So these are all sporadic things. The
Right.
shoots and all happen sporadically. Okay. So in between, I try to plan out, of course, my mood also matters a lot. Should get into the mood of doing, artwork and all that. It requires a lot of um, that nice mood, and I know everything should be okay for you. Then you can do. So I try to utilize the time and my mood, and then get into it and do it. And it applies even for cooking. Like I would like to do something, experiment with my own food preparations, and I just get into it. That's it. I don't think too much about things, so I just get into it, and then I try to do whatever. I try to do my best.
Basically, to go with the flow, you could say.
Yeah, pardon.
Basically, I'm saying you
Sorry.
go with the flow.
Yeah. Sorry.
You go with the flow. I mean, you feel whatever comes in your way, whatever things that you said you've done so far, so basically they come your way. So that's why you go along the flow.
Yes, I go along with the flow. Whatever, I mean, I can think of doing at that moment. It's all
Right.
kind of momentary for me. Oh, okay. So no planning, not much of planning. People are planning for me, the outside world.
Oh,
So
right.
I try to fit in. I try to fit in there, and okay, fine. That's how I carry on.
So, a mantra to keep going in life. What is your mantra and what fuels your passion?
Well, mantra is we should be ready. There should be a readiness,
Mhm.
okay, to face any kind of eventuality or even an opportunity. So I feel that kind of readiness should be there mentally, psychologically. You should be ready to take up anything that it can be it can be something very pleasant. It can be something very unpleasant. So I feel we women, we are kind of you can say that psychologically we have these qualities, inherent in us to face any kind of eventuality in life. So I kind of hone up my skills when I think in this kind, and a very positive attitude. So that's my mantra. So go. I mean, if anything new is coming to you, you go with a very positive attitude towards it. So that will really help you in solving your problems, or even finishing your tasks, even if it's very difficult or very simple.
Basically, you mean to say that you be prepared, be ready, and take up your challenges one after the other.
True, true. I said, yeah. Be in a prepared kind of a state of mind always. A little bit of planning is very good. It helps you. So planning one day before your next day. So because nowadays we have so many things to do, so many things.
Absolutely.
It's not like earlier when I was. Pardon?
No, I'm just saying absolutely. It's so much is there, so much is out there There is a lot of competition. So you feel like doing something better than what you've done yesterday.
Absolutely. See, if I plan something and I carry it out and I finish the task, be it a painting or even trying to do my garden, sprucing up my garden, or it can be something which I have in my mind. I want to put it on the paper. So some ideas I keep getting, So if I can finish my task, I can say that yes, I have achieved something. It's not that when I get a role in the movie or I do it very well, that is a different matter altogether. But then the small things, these matter more. So so I like whatever I plan. If I finish it on a daily basis, day-to-day basis, you can say, then I feel that I have achieved really something.
So being a woman, did you have a hard time getting good roles in your profession?
Oh, well, no. The thing is, the roles just came to me automatically. Because before I got into movies, I was a mom, and I walked into the film world, Tollywood or whatever you say, and I got mostly all mom roles, and sometimes there are roles like doctor I played, and somewhere I played like a IAS officer in one movie. And there was a police officer also, but then because of my date problems, I couldn't do it. But I would love to get into a khaki uniform, I think it was Payal Rajput's movie, and I was into a web series, and I just couldn't. I really felt bad. I lost it.
Never mind. You'll have many more good roles on your way now.
Thank you so much.
So, what has been the toughest challenge in your career or life so far?
The toughest challenge, well, it's yet to come, I feel.
That means everything was very easy breezy for you.
As of now, yes, whatever was coming, be it something new in the movies also, I could handle it because, that kind of roles and all that are very familiar for me. All right. But then, yes, the toughest thing which you would say is the sometimes the dialogues, the diction and all that varies from region to region. Okay. Say, for instance, in Maryada Raman, this is a movie which I did with Rajamouli Garu. So there, the Telugu is totally different. That's a Rayalaseema dialect. Okay. So, so we had to get into that body language and the kind of mannerisms, and the dressing and everything that helps you also to even tell your dialogues that way. And I had to even perfect my dialogues with the kind of the lingo, which they used. So yeah. So I think that was one of the toughest things which I faced till date. But then, of course, I would love to take up a few more challenges.
Have you ever been afraid or had the fear of not performing well, or was there a pressure of always getting the best out of you, in your profession?
Well, I don't think so. Whatever was coming, I could do justice. So I never got any feedback but only one feedback I get is a lot of my fans, they want to see more of me on the screen.
Absolutely, because you're a very good actress. So definitely, because I loved you in Arjun Reddy, though I don't know Telugu much, but when there was this entire news of Kabir Singh, so I happened to read in the news that Kabir Singh is a remake of Arjun Reddy. So I said, let me first see Arjun Reddy, and then I'll go and watch, Kabir Singh. So I happened to see, and then I liked Vijay Deverakonda, his work, the mother that you played, your role. So it was a altogether very beautifully made movie, but I don't know why people find ways of, kind of
misogyny and all that.
Yes. So many things to talk about. They talk ill about it, but see, when you see it as a performance, so it's basically a different character that somebody has played. he
Yes.
or the director or the cast don't behave in such manner any in any way, but it's just that the film required that aggression, that demand, and that's what has happened. But yeah, I'm so sorry. I feel sorry for these people who don't appreciate the art, the performance, and instead bully everyone in the movie and just talk ill about it. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I really loved your role in Arjun Reddy.
Thank you, Deepali.
Thank you for giving us that. Also, tell us one quality about yourself that you like and one quality that you hate.
One quality I like, both, I think it can apply to both ways, and
Okay.
that is that I totally believe people.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. I take everyone for granted. That's the
Mhm.
thing. Yeah, I don't try to read people or try to read their minds and stuff like that. Well, I just take opinions or whatever it is. I'm not very critical or whatever. Analyze the kind of mindset I don't have. You can say that. So I just very non-committal about things.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you chill around with everybody so easily, so you don't give it a second thought.
I guess so. I feel that it is nice to be, to adjust to people's moods and whatever you may be in some mood, right? Fine.
Right.
But then if you fine tune your mood and yeah, and then you try to have a rapport with the other person, you may not internally, you may not agree with her or him about his views or whatever. But then I feel as a social gesture, it's very nice if you can just kind of agree, and because I like making people happy. I like to see people happy. So that's the thing.
That's a good thing, ma'am, that you want everybody to be happy. And yes, we also want to pray everyone is happy wherever they are.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, tell me, is there something that you have been trying to excel at or achieve lately?
Something which I achieved.
Which you have been trying to excel or achieve lately, which you want to get it, or you've been trying to do certain, certain activity or certain thing that you want to achieve, which you have not yet achieved. Is there something that you want to achieve?
Yeah. Actually, I want to write a story
Oh,
and film it, and yeah, I really want to do something about it. Well, I'm yet to really, get onto it. People like you, I've motivating factors for me.
definitely. I'm sure you will be doing this, and you'll also be playing this role very well, like you do play the other roles really well. So
That
I
is direction which my dad used to say. Why don't you direct a movie? I'm sure that you can do it instead of being on the other side of the camera. I said, Dad, let me enjoy this phase, and then I do something later.
later you can think of this and go to the other side of the lens and
Right.
be a director, ma'am.
Because we when we are on the other side, we learn a lot of things too, isn't it? Yeah.
So wish you all the very best for the next role that definitely you want to explore.
I don't know, I can't promise, but then it is there, something which I really want to, do one fine day.
Yes. All of us have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic recently. So has the pandemic affected your personal or professional life in any way?
Yes, it hasn't affected my professional life. Of course, there was a pause. So the whole, you can say the whole world was in a pause mode, and there was a lot of beauty in that. It kind of transported me to my childhood days, school days, those days, when at 9 o'clock itself, everything falls silent, and we would finish our dinner also by then, and then sleep off. So that was a kind of beautiful feeling I got again, because by 9 o'clock, there was no traffic sound, and not much of lights, everything very dark and still. So, and the insects, I can hear the insects in the night, and the birds, early morning birds chirping. So this was something which we would normally miss out in our very busy lives, you know. And this was amazing thing which happened in the pandemic, and people also learned a lot of lessons. Yes. So
I must say the pandemic has brought back the old memories to you.
old memories too. Absolutely.
We have seen you play many roles in the real and the real life. How
Yeah.
do you describe yourself? I mean, how do you describe yourself as?
Well, I would say that I'm uncomplicated. So there's one word. Basically, I don't complicate myself too much because I can't take complicated situations or things. Of course, unless I'm put into it, then it's a different matter altogether. But if you can say by myself, I'm like uncomplicated.
Absolutely. You follow a simplicity. I believe in that. And you are an example of simplicity. So, what has been your biggest support system?
My biggest support system is, of course, my family, I can say, and now my extended family. All the people like you and all the fans out, my Facebook fans and Instagram, and a lot of people are there, of course, and my close friends and my actors also, actor friends. So they're all very encouraging and I mean, very, very friendly, and lot. I mean, see to it that I'm quite comfortable. Otherwise, you know, a person with my kind of background adjusting into a totally new field like acting requires a lot of maturity and, you know, that kind of mindset where you can mix and mingle. So basically, you should be able to mix and mingle with, because people come there, you know, with a lot of egos, and yeah, each and every actor is different. So they, in a lot of interviews, they keep asking me about heroes and heroines and all that. Ma'am, can you tell us about them? So yes, whatever I can gauge, I would like tell, like be it Junior NTR, or it can be Vijay Deverakonda now. He's the, you can say, the flavor of the season now, right? And yeah, so like that, Rashmika, and she's a very, very friendly girl. You know, she would just come and hug me, like as if I'm her mom in Geeta Govinda.
Yes, yes.
And even Vijay Deverakonda is a very sweet guy, very sweet guy. So, and well, all the actors are very nice, and some of them are a little reserved. So I would normally not disturb them. It all depends on their mood and all. If they want to talk, fine. That's the thing.
If not an actor, what would you have been, or what other profession you would have taken up?
Yeah, if not an actor, most probably I would have become a graphic designer.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I was kind of contemplating that when I was also doing my freelancing in Indian Express. So I said, okay, fine, let me do something new, because new technologies are coming. So I thought I'll do a course and do something about it. But then this happened all of a sudden, you know, out of the blue. So my thing was always like, whatever comes, you know, take it up without much thinking and all that. So that's that uncomplicated I am.
So, coming to our last question for today, ma'am, what is the advice you would like? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So, coming to the last question for today, what is the advice you would like to give the younger women today entering your profession?
Yes. Well, I would definitely, because nowadays women are so much informed, very well informed, be it arts or culture, science or whatever. Okay, and politics also nowadays. So whichever profession, say be it like acting, if they have that passion, well, they can try it out in movies, because movies always, they require new kind of talent coming in. They encourage, and yeah, they whatever comes, they must just take it up. and give their best, I feel. Yeah, they can polish it up later on as they go, ahead. So I feel the whole world is there out there. So it's for them to explore and discover new aspects about themselves, like I did.
Absolutely, absolutely, ma'am. You're a role model to most of the girls out there, and that's why we chose you as one of the inspiring ladies that we've known of. And with this, ma'am, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of our heart for giving your valuable time and devoting your time and making this happen, ma'am. It's a really great thing, and really thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Deepali. And I congratulate to you and team for launching the Telemed Lab app. And definitely I will share it everywhere. So because it's going to be very, very useful for the entire, you can say the youth, the old people, everyone can use, the different age groups, you can say. Fantastic talking with you. And one small thing I would like to, I got an award today in the other function that is for in connection with International Women's Day. And this is the award which I got, and this is the Nari Samman Award.
Hearty thank now. Hearty congratulations.
Thank you so much, Deepali. And I also thank the organizers of Nari Samman, the award function, for giving me this beautiful award. And in your program, I could show it off, showcase it.
It's an honor and privilege, ma'am, for us that we've had you, a person, an inspiring lady that you have been so far. And I wish you all the very best for all your future ventures and journeys and other roles that you are going to take up soon. So with this, we come to the end of this amazing conversation that we've had with these gorgeous, inspiring ladies. And I'm sure you all must have also thoroughly enjoyed this. I just had a blast. On behalf of the entire Telemed Lab team, I would once again like to thank all our 3 participants from the bottom of our hearts for making this possible. Thank you all for your valuable time and patient listening, and wish you all gorgeous ladies a very happy International Women's Day. Thank you.